There been a bigger fall from grace in NBA history than what we've seen from Ben Simmons in the last few months, the last few years and last few seasons?
Listen, Ben Simmons, this man right here, coming out of high school, coming out of Montverde, coming out of LSU, I for one, and I'm sure many others did as well. I thought this man was the second coming of Magic Johnson. I'm not even going to lie. Ben Simmons, where do I even begin? Look, since departing from Philly, he hasn't really been healthy, and he also has been healthy, you could make the case. But obviously he has those back issues. His disc is just, I don't even know, it's smashed to pieces, it's messed up, it's destroyed. He's lost some explosiveness, you can tell, when he plays, going up for rebounds, going up for dunks, tough finishes. He almost avoids contact nowadays, which, hey, that's not the Ben Simmons we knew in his rookie season or his sophomore season. But I think, to be honest, I think that he genuinely does need to sit out. Like, I believe, who wouldn't believe him? Like, he does have back issues, but will he suit up for the Brooklyn Nets ever again? I don't know. I don't know if he ever will. I don't think he will. But I also don't think anyone is willing to take that contract. They're not willing to trade for that contract next season. And I think Ben Simmons, it's tough to say because I do like the guy, but I think he gets bought out. And hopefully he finds himself a good home where he can kind of revive the second half of his career. And who knows, he might never be the player that he once was, but if he can even be a little bit better than half of the player that he once was, he can contribute to a championship team. So, I don't really like the whole thing with tearing our fellow Aussie down in Ben Simmons. I know he hasn't suited up for Australia when he kind of should have had, but yeah, who knows? Maybe one day we can see Ben playing next to Giddy and Chet in OKC. That'll be pretty cool. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents in. Yeah. What about you? Let me know your thoughts.
Don't get me wrong. I think you make a great point. Like, I don't like tearing down players, and I don't like bringing players down, just to get a bit of clicks on YouTube or on social media. You know what I mean? I'm all about just giving my opinion, but making sure it's factual and making sure it's fair and reasonable.
Can I chip in real quick?
I was a big,
Like, don't get me wrong here. Ben Simmons, even as a fan, I can admit he's not all in the right necessarily. He's had his petty instances in the past, where he hasn't really been as professional as he should have. We saw that last year when he was departing from Philadelphia. But I didn't really mean all on Ben's side, but at the same time, I think he doesn't really get a lot of leeway, if that makes sense. Like, it's kind of all attack on Ben Simmons. But yeah, that's literally it.
100%. Yeah, for sure. I agree with you on that front. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's been instances on both parties, like on both sides, where you could obviously argue the case and say, like, there's faults on both fronts. But where I feel like Ben Simmons, has gone downhill, and where I feel like, yes, some stuff was out of his control. For me, it's like, you've got all the God-given talent. You're 6'10", 6'11", whatever you may be. Yeah. You're 240 pounds, 110, 15 kilos. You can run down the court quicker than most point guards. You've got athleticism. You've got the God-given gift of being able to pass the basketball and the feel for the game. It was all there. And for me, when you know that you've got a certain thing in your game that you need to work on, especially in this situation where his jump shot, again, the NBA changed the style of game. You need to be able to at least be a somewhat competitive somewhat a confident enough shooter from three. Look at guys like Giannis. They're not elite shooters, but they still don't shy away from taking it. Where I get frustrated is Lonzo Ball reconstructed his whole jump shot after all the criticism that was put forward to him, all of the issues surrounding his jump shot, and he still worked on it, reconstructed it, and took it to a next level. What bothers me about Ben Simmons is all this criticism came to him, and instead of taking it and saying, like, I'm going to prove people wrong, I'm going to prove that I can actually make changes to my game or adapt it, do this, do that. He just outright refused to. And even if you shoot the ball, no one's going to think badly of you.
Exactly.
You're not going to be embarrassed for doing it. But the fact that you aren't even willing to take a jump shot, and then not only that, but you have in one part of this season, he had more fouls than he had points.
Yeah.
It's like we're talking about Ben Simmons here, a generational talent who was compared to LeBron James, who was compared to Magic Johnson, who was the Gatorade National Player of the Year coming out of high school. He was arguably the college player of the year in that year that he came out in the draft, and all those question marks about who should have been picked first, Brandon Ingram or Ben Simmons. I actually said, I think Brandon Ingram's a better pick in this situation. I got a few people that I used to, when I first said that claim or made that statement actually laughed and said, "Oh, you get proven wrong." And then I was in this NBA forum and I went back to those receipts and I said, you know what? Like, look at that. Now I'm actually right and you're wrong. So again, pretty much. And to be honest, like, again, I want Ben Simmons to succeed. I wish him all the best. But at the end of the day, you brought this upon yourself to some extent because you're not willing to work on your game. You want all the glitz, the glamour that comes with the game. You got your $170 million contract over 5 years. They're paying you $30+ million, whatever it may be. And you're not willing to improve your game. You're comfortable. You're satisfied. I don't want to comment on the mental health stuff. I don't want to comment on the back stuff because I don't know the full situation. And I trust that what has come along with that stuff, it's all legitimate. But again, I can't go into too much detail outside of him not working on his individual game that could have made him a better player. So I hope he turns it around. But, it's going to be tough to find a suitor now with the way this whole situation's played out. And the funny thing is, Marcus, the Sixers were laughed at for giving him up and, taking on James Harden and saying that was a risk and whatever, you know what I mean? The Nets are like, oh, we got the better end of the deal. And all of a sudden you look at it and now the Sixers are competing for one of the top seeds in the East. They've got James Harden firing on all cylinders again.
Ben's not
None of the
playing.
Nets players, correct, and Ben's not playing. None of the Nets that were around at the time in that dynamic trio of Durant, Kyrie, and Harden, none of them are even in that organization anymore. So they've been completely fleeced. It's almost as bad of a fleece as when Paul Pierce, Garnett, and who else was it? There was another player. Jason Terry went from the Celtics to the Nets. So it's going to be interesting to see how this next year and a bit plays out for Ben Simmons. I wish him all the best, but the chances of him turning it around, it's going to be an uphill battle. So
I
100%
completely agree. I'll just quickly touch note, but I completely agree. Kind of the NBA's golden boy, to be honest. Like, I'm gonna keep it blank, but comes out of college. LSU barely plays for the number one pick. Gatorade Player of the Year in high school. Comes to the NBA. Obviously, he's a real talent, Rookie of the Year. But then, you said never works on his game, which, he hasn't really progressed all that much. And, the fact that he hasn't stringed together a jump shot or just refuses to shoot is pretty horrid. So, I'll probably...
Final point before we go on to the next topic. I just want to touch on... There was one point in time when Luka first came into the league and when he started dominating in his rookie season, there was actually comparisons made between...
Luka and Ben.
Who is a better player, Luka or Ben?
Right.
And we were like... There was genuine arguments to sometimes make the case for Ben Simmons because of his defensive abilities. Yes, he wasn't as productive with the shot making like Luka was, but he had other assets to his game. But now, if you made that comparison a couple of seasons later, and if someone had asked you,
laughing.
Who would you prefer? You would not believe that the conversation would be completely shut away and shut off from even being brought into existence because of how bad Ben Simmons is playing. So for me, that's just a crazy turn of events. And I just wanted to add that in because it just came to me. I was like, you know what? We were comparing those two guys at one point, and now we're like they're in completely different realms.